Welcome to episode 5 of Branwen's Pig Year, and I could not be more excited. It's Sunday, May the 12th, and we are coming to one of my favourite places in the world, RSPB Minsmere, which is on the Suffolk coast. And we've been here many times. We've stayed here for weeks on end. There's a potential to see a lot of new birds. Can't wait. We're here in Suffolk for a whole week. We've got lots of little trips planned, so yeah, keep watching. Well, this is what Minsmere is all about. We just spent about half an hour in Island Mere Hyde and were treated to some spectacular views of some of Minsmere's specialities, including the gorgeous bearded tits, which is kind of one of the reasons why we came here. They're not actually from the tit family, I believe, and they don't really have beards either, more like moustaches, but they're super cute and they were being very friendly with us today. Well, Minsmere, you blew my mind yet again. What an incredible day. We managed to clock up 71 species today, which is unbelievable, just at Minsmere. I'm not sure what that means in terms of the big year. Obviously, it's not 71 new birds for the big year. There's probably only a few that were actually new for the year, but still an impressive day's birding. Saw lots of birds that I wasn't expecting to see, like Temmink stint. There were a couple of those which you could see in the distance from the Wildlife Lookout Hide. There were 3 little terns from the East Hide, which we've seen there before, but only once. They're not what you would call common Minsmere visitors. Lots of the usual wonderful birds, hobbies. We saw hobbies quite a few times, which was great, because if you've been watching my vlogs, I did see one last month in Somerset, but didn't manage to get it on camera, so it was really nice to do that today. Lots of spectacular views of marsh harriers, which again already on the list for the year, but still always a thrill as they kind of weave their way across the reed beds. Such a distinctive bird, and a real speciality of this area. Managed to hear a nightingale near the car park entrance. I think it's often there most years, but I didn't get any recordings of it. It wasn't in full song, so I'm hoping to see one or hear one later this week. As we were leaving Minsmere, we did pull over at a spot that we know on the way out, where when we've been before, we've seen stone curlews in a field. And lo and behold, there were 2 couples of bird watchers with binoculars and cameras, and we looked across the field and saw a couple of stone curlews quite unimpressively sitting there in the grass amidst hundreds of rabbits, but still a brilliant tick for the list, and kind of a relief to know that we've got that one. We're just going to take it easy this evening, having walked many steps, and tomorrow we're off to somewhere very exciting in Norfolk. It's an absolutely gorgeous day, and it's Monday the 13th of May, and we've come to Hickling Broad, which is somewhere we've never been before. It's in the Norfolk Broads, one of the many spectacular areas of waterways, and hopefully lots of wildlife. And we're booked to go on a boat trip, so no idea what that's going to entail, but it's very exciting. Hickling Broad was wonderful. We had a brilliant boat trip, and In particular, a moment with a marsh harrier that I don't think you'd experience anywhere else other than on a boat on a Broad. The harrier was just like staying with us as we cruised along, flying over, probably just checking out what we were doing. But it was a really lovely encounter that is going to be very memorable, I know. We also saw one of Hickling Broad specialities, which is the swallowtail butterfly. We saw a few flitting around on the reserve at first, but eventually found one settled at a bit of a distance. Absolutely incredible butterfly. Then as we drove back into the farm where we're staying, we had a couple of simultaneous encounters, one being a red-legged partridge that was just hanging around on the road, not letting us drive past. A good tick to have. And then in the field to the right there was a hare. I always love seeing hares. There's something very mystical about them, I think. Also, we've discovered that in the vicinity of our cottage there is a barn owl that kind of hunts mostly at dawn and dusk, but we have seen him in broad daylight as well at kind of 9:30 in the morning, presumably feeding young and consequently having to hunt all the time. But when we saw it yesterday morning, it was catching what looked like a rat, which I'm sure will make a lovely dinner for some little owl somewhere. Today we're off to Westleton Heath, which we've been to many times. There's a few birds on the wish list today. Yellowhammer would be lovely, we've seen those there a few times. Possibly woodlark, which again we've seen a few times there. Quite a difficult bird to see normally. But hopefully Westleton will come through, and of course Dartford warbler, which I have a feeling this may not be our last attempt to see a Dartford warbler, but fingers crossed. There's a good spot for them. There's lots of gorse bushes which they love, so hopefully. We're just getting ready to go out, and I looked out my window and there's a couple of pheasants having a quite dramatic face-off. It started small and has escalated ever since. Anyway, we're off to Westleton Heath. It's Wednesday the 15th of May, and yesterday we got a bit rained off at Westleton. We saw lots of nice birds, but we didn't see any of the ones that we'd hoped to see, although I did hear a woodlark at the car park. I didn't manage to see it, but I definitely heard one, so that's on the list. But we're planning to go back again later today to see if we can see any of those specialty birds. For now, we're just going to pop to Minsmere again and see what's about there. Just finished a little walk at Westleton Heath, which was lovely but hasn't still quite delivered on what we're after. We're still looking for Dartford warblers, but we've got a few tips. A few people we've bumped into on the walk have suggested Dunwich Heath, so I think tomorrow we're going to walk there from Minsmere because you can walk along the beach. It was a good walk though, and we did hear a nightingale at one point. I didn't manage to get any footage, but it was definitely there in half song, I'd say. And then a little bit further around, we saw one of the birds we have been looking for, which is a woodlark. And I heard a woodlark when we came here a couple of days ago, but it was brilliant to actually see them today, albeit briefly. They were mostly circling around above the heath, but one landed in a tree, so I managed to get a little shot. And so we've just done a bit of revising of our plan, as you have to do when you're doing a big year. So we're now going to come back here this evening and maybe catch a glimpse of a dartbird if we're lucky, but on the hunt for nightjars. We had been thinking of going to Blacksall Common near Snape, but again, some tips from some locals today suggested that here, Westleton Heath is probably as good a place as anywhere, and it's a lot nearer to where we're staying. So maybe nightjars tonight. It's now about 9:15, something like that, and me and Daddy-O.
Hello, I'm here.
We've come on a little mission back to Westleton Heath on the hunt for nightjars. It's still a bit early, it's still quite light, as you can see. It's very misty. We're hoping that doesn't put them off. We did think we'd have a quick look around and see if there's any dark warblers having a last minute munch on some bugs before they go to bed. And then as it gets darker, we're hoping to hear the chirring of the nightjar, which is quite a magical sound. If you ever get a chance to hear it, it's kind of like a reeling sound. Well, if we hear any, you'll hear them because I'll record them. But definitely worth investigating if you ever get the chance. Bit of an adventure. It's Friday the 17th of May, it's our last day in Suffolk, and where better to spend it than one of our favourite places, RSPB Minsmere.
Today we're at RSPB Minsmere in Suffolk. It's a beautiful day and we've had a wonderful time so far. I just want to tell you a little bit about Minsmere. It's one of our favourite places. It was started in 1947 and for nearly 80 years it's been increasingly important to various species, particularly the avocet, and thanks to a lot of work, the avocet is happily breeding. In 1970, the RSPB decided to use a picture of the avocet as a logo, and it's still being used today. BBC Springwatch brought Minsmere into the public notice about 10 years ago with a purpose-built studio and miles of cable to bring the magic of Minsmere into our homes. After a couple of years, the studio was dismantled, but you can still see the base. It's been covered with brambles and ferns and nettles, a bit like Sleeping Beauty's castle, but it's there as a reminder of those good days 10 years ago. Coincidentally, we were staying here the same week that Springwatch was here and delivered our own version of Springwatch called Spring Vlog, which can be seen on Branwen's YouTube channel. So it's all good for RSPB Minsmere, or is it? Sadly not quite. Recently the government sanctioned an increase to the nuclear plant, which will bring Sizewell C to the very borders of Minsmere Wildlife Reserve. Obviously this is not good news. There have been many local protests falling on deaf ears, sadly. The only hope is that, rumour has it, they may run out of funding. I just have to keep our fingers crossed on that one. To finish on a happier note, fun fact from 2019, when the RSPB released a single called Let Nature Sing, which allegedly was a single of pure birdsong. Maybe there's hope for us yet.
We've just about come to the end of our day at Minsmere on our last day of a wonderful week in Suffolk. And yeah, the topic came up of Bird of the Week, which we've not really done yet this year, but no time like the present to start. So I think for me it's going to be the little tern. We just saw two little terns from South Hyde, which we have seen them before, and in fact we did see them earlier this week, but it was just really nice to see them today sitting out there on the gravel. So thank you, little terns. Mama, what is your bird of the week?
I think it has to be the grey plover, which I'm sure we saw a few years ago, but I don't think it can have been in summer plumage.
Yeah.
But it's very beautiful and very glamorous, I think.
I agree, yeah, you're right, we didn't see it in summer plumage, only in winter plumage, as you often do here. Bird of the week, Daddy-O?
I'm afraid mine's not going to be at Minsmere. Mine's at home where we're staying,
Yeah.
in the cottage, and the barn owl that we see every day flying over the field low, looking for his food.
Yeah. Great choice. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. We have been very lucky with our light accommodation, having barn owls and hares and red-legged partridges just coming to our door every day. It's been a mega week. We've seen quite a few new birds. Plenty more to go. It's Saturday the 18th of May and we've just packed and we're just literally leaving, driving down the lane from the little cottage. And guess what we should see in the road is a little yellowhammer just poking around by the side of the lane, and then it flew up into the tree next to us and managed to get some footage, and we could not be happier to finish our holiday with a bird we've been looking for all week. Yay, thank you to the God of the birds. It's Wednesday the 22nd of May and it's a slightly damp, slightly breezy morning in Pembrokeshire, and we've come down to the southwest tip of Pembrokeshire to Martin's Haven, and we're going on a boat to Skomer Island, which I'm really excited about. I've never been. It's got some amazing birds and I thought what better time to go than during a big year. So here we go, let's find out what's on Skomer. Well, Skomer delivered as predicted, particularly in the puffin department. Apparently there's like over 40,000 of them on the island and they're just everywhere. You can hear oyster catchers flying around me. There are birds all over this island. It's absolutely incredibly populated.